Yeah, so this is our first project. This is the Master of Fine Arts and Design student, Morgan Brantner. And this one will be more of a presentation than the others. This is what we sort of expect of the master's students when they get to the end and are ready to sort of defend their project and thesis. And so I see he's here in the room now. If you want to go ahead and share your screen, we can let you present here.
All right, no problem. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Morgan Brantner, and this is a short overview of my thesis work titled Cooperative Design in Digital Games for Social Closeness, and the accompanying game project, Abyss. This creative thesis compares the social nature of modern digital game design with an ideal pro-social system, the foundation of which is the research of cooperative mechanics that help influence positive social interactions. It tries to present a framework for understanding the nature of multiplayer games and the tendency for the internet's anonymity to lead to negative social interactions, based on industry research and current events. Some of these ideologies and cooperative mechanics will be explored in Abyss, a 3D cooperative game that pairs players against the dark entity in a beautifully hazardous environment. The first topic we need to cover on this journey are pro-social emotions. Digital games are becoming an increasingly acceptable way for everyone to spend time together. Through the act of spending time together, completing challenges with one another in digital games, players can experience these emotions and develop positive experiences and associations with one another. In fact, I'm sure many of you watching now have had some positive social experiences playing or designing games for this very purpose. In several examples throughout the internet, you can find stories of compassion, friendship, and love expressed as a direct result of sharing these experiences. So if these moments exist, why are we still fighting what feels like an uphill battle against toxicity in the social spaces of our game worlds and beyond? Indeed, it doesn't take long to find reckless negativity or cruel intention online, or in digital games, competitive or otherwise. And about since 2004 and the advent of the second generation of the internet, known as Web 2.0, this is the version that you're probably most used to nowadays, where user-generated content and participatory social platforms are the norms. There were no detailed laws or comprehensive guidelines during this time, leading to many ethical issues and some tragic events. It also led to the forming of a new study of ethics called cyberethics, which studies questions and moral dilemmas brought on by the emergence of digital technologies. In the following years, many stakeholders worked to retroactively make the internet a safer and more private place to interact. So, as designers, we should create appealing intrinsic rewards in our social systems that utilize and reward pro-social behavior for helping to grow healthy player-to-player relationships and communities. So, with digital games having so many different ways to interact these days, I'm proposing that if bringing people together with games is something that you value as a designer, the best practice is to design for these pro-social interactions from the onset. A concept that can help achieve this is procedural rhetoric. This paves the way for the notion that players of digital games can be persuaded to act pro-socially through the systems that we design. The challenge is then for designers to honor their players' habits while still encouraging pro-social actions, such as having players acting in pro-social ways be more rewarding, in general, by creating a clearly defined set of rules that players follow that allows for transparency in the system so that the players don't feel like they're being manipulated. Now, I'm not done yet. This isn't quite over, but I wanted to note that these are only some of the examples and information detailed in my paper. If you would like to learn more about cyber ethics, altruistic game design, and more, or just examine it further, you can keep an eye out for it this summer online. So we've touched on social systems in multiplayer games, and the pro-social benefits of cooperative games. Next, I want to discuss the methodology and creation of cooperative mechanics in a split-screen game, and how they're implemented in the accompanying game project Abyss. Abyss is a cooperative third-person platforming game. It utilizes what are known as cooperative performance metrics, as detailed in the research study Understanding and Evaluating Cooperative Games. By utilizing the pre-existing system that they provide, this game project quickly assessed common cooperative trends in digital game interactions by identifying 3 of their cooperative performance metrics. Complementary actions, the players' roles in the game complement each other during the activities. Shared goals, the players' objectives are the same throughout gameplay. And special rules, the game presents exceptional circumstances to structure cooperation between players. Various elements of the game Project Abyss had to be specifically addressed because the game is played in split screen. As a result, more development time had to go into camera settings because of the ability of split-screen games to interfere with player visuals. This led to developing a system where players can adjust the camera and reset it within certain bounds to help with gameplay. Leaning into the shared goals and complementary cooperative performance metrics, players have enhanced and special abilities that affect visuals and gameplay in the following ways when the players are close to one another. The crystals on their shoulders grow brighter and emit particle effects. The haptics of the controller rumble in gentle intervals. The players can heal one another if they have lost health, or cleanse them if they've been afflicted with the darkness. The players can move faster and jump higher, allowing for them to reach platforms easier or to make previously impossible jumps. Certain aspects of the game were adjusted with feedback to a prototype version of the game. Initially, the game used basic health bars. This was in an attempt to lower development time. The UI was very basic and pushed off to the side. This led to players not really noticing their partner's health and straying far apart. To help combat this, the health bars went through another design pass. They now resemble the characters and have been brought together in the center of the screen. Another significant design aspect that was altered due to feedback is how damage is dealt to the player. There was a need to allow for freedom of exploration in this type of game, while avoiding one player getting too far ahead and abandoning their companion, while also trying to not stop them in their progress entirely. Negative experiences in cooperative games are frequently born from one player having to wait, another player feeling rushed, and players getting in the way of one another. The solution in this current build is to make damage from the darkness tick down constantly until a player is healed or cleansed. This creates many more moments where the players need to communicate and help one another. With Abyss being created by mainly one person, it was necessary to have significant parts of the game compartmentalized in easy-to-understand groups. The development was split up into these 3 major sections, each following a normal iterative development cycle. The core aesthetics from the pitch of Abyss was to be a fantastical cosmic horror-esque environment, a world that felt dark and foreboding but also beautiful and intriguing. The goal wasn't to drive players away, but to give them a sense of wanting to explore the environment before them with a companion rather than alone. This proof of concept was created in Unreal Engine to show that the visuals and workflow were achievable. The following steps for the environment were to reach out to trusted concept artist and UW Stout alumni, David Fraszewski. On and off over 4 months with feedback and direction, Abyss's environment concepts were created. A colorful and dark take on an almost alien cave system that looks as though it could be underwater, but isn't. On this slide, you can see the final engine renders of each of the levels of Abyss. In spring 2021, additional environment assets were created by Ryan Kilmer and Hannah Curtis as they began work with me on the trailer for this project. An audio team from the collaboration between UW Stout and Berklee School of Music was also added to the project to help produce sound effects, ambience, and music for the game. During the environment time and development, characters were also being created. A few iterations of the generic adventurer was created, until the form and function of the design were finally nailed down, with the crystal shoulder mount and partially covered faces. The core aspects of the characters were to be stylized and low poly. And for the final core piece, Abyss's gameplay was created to grant players a sense of power and freedom of movement while exploring the world. It was important during development to test and make sure that gameplay was easy to pick up, had snappy, intuitive controls, and had as few barriers as possible to entry. This step in development focused heavily on the concept of game feel, which can be described as the intangible and tactile sensation of playing a digital game. The parameters that were modified to produce a good game feel for this development project are input, feedback, and rules. For input, the responsiveness of the player's input is 1-to-1. For every button press, the player creates an action on the screen. Freedom of combination is also allowed. A player can enter any of the platforming stages from one another. Lengthy animations, locked cameras, and cutscenes are avoided. For feedback, every action that the player makes while moving, the controller provides haptic response. The character animates instantly, the game visuals are updated, and any information that the player could need is provided on input with sound effects, lighting, animations, and the health bar. And finally, rules. The mechanics that calculate player collision while platforming is relaxed to allow for significant margin of error. Damage that the player takes is calculated and shown in real time, with a slight delay at the end that'll enable players to allow a close escape situation. Abyss was developed over a year. It's a couch co-op platforming game that utilizes cooperative mechanics to explore pro-social game design and interactivity in games. This game and thesis look to contribute to the proliferation of positive social emotions in game design to help create more meaningful and impactful games. And with that, I believe I have a trailer to show, and that'll be all. All right, and that's Abyss. I just wanted to take a moment, real quick, to say that the support and guidance of the teachers at Stout and my thesis chair, Kim Loken, have been nothing short of life-saving during 2020 and beyond. And this project could not have reached the level that it has without the skilled concept work of David or technical advisement from people on Twitch and the incredibly talented work from the audio team who nailed the tone and feel of the game. Thank you for your time.